Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Most leadership problems aren't strategy problems. They're autopilot problems. I'm Jen Brown. For more than 20 years, I led diplomatic teams in some pretty challenging environments where reacting on instinct wasn't enough and clarity under pressure was everything. Here's what I learned. The best leaders don't just react. They pause. They choose. They lead on purpose. That's the work I do now, helping leaders get out of autopilot and lead intentionally, to lead themselves, to lead others, and to lead the mission that's bigger than any one of us. Because leadership isn't measured by what you accomplish alone. It's measured by the capacity you build in yourself, in your team, and in the mission you serve. Ready to lead on purpose? Let's talk.
All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Leadership and Success Podcast. Well, before I bring in my guest, I'm being reminded to do our moment of gratitude. This is just the time we take every single time we meet, to remember to be grateful every single day. So if you would, maybe you want to close your eyes and put yourself in your happy place, but think about one thing that you are grateful for right now. I know my godfather used to say, I've never had a bad day. But the truth is, everybody sometimes has a bad day. But really, what's important is how do you respond to that? And for me right now, I am really grateful for freedom, but also we are getting ready to send our last baby, my second daughter, to college this week. And I'm pretty excited about that. And I am really grateful just for the opportunity to have raised that child. Very, very proud of her. And now she's going to go to college and, set up her own life. And her mother and I are very, very excited about that and so grateful to God that this little bitty baby we had almost 18 years ago is pretty much now a grown woman. I remember when I first held her in my hand, her little finger, she would wrap it around my hand, and it was just so precious. And now she's like a grown human, so it is really beautiful to say. Okay, so let us know in the comment, where are you guys joining us from? What city, what state? Since we are now a global show, which country as well? And also let us know what you are grateful for. And if you do have a question for my guest, type it in the comment and we will be answering you live. Okay, let me see if I can do a proper introduction. So again, welcome to today's season 5, episode 171. Wow, I can't believe we've had 171 episodes this year alone since January 2026. So today we're going to be talking about something fundamental to everyone of us who aspires to lead. Before you can effectively lead others or accomplish the mission, you first have to learn how to lead yourself, right? The person in the mirror. And I have a perfect guest for that conversation. It's really my pleasure to welcome my friend, Coach Jen Brown, founder of Journey of Grace Coaching, leadership coach, speaker, trainer, author, podcast co-host, and a former U.S. diplomat who spent 23 years serving our country as a foreign service officer with the U.S. Department of State. Jen's leadership journey has taken her around the world. She served at U.S. diplomatic posts in Ecuador, Honduras, Venezuela, uh, Turkmenistan, and Colombia, as well as in significant leadership assignment in Washington, D.C. She has led large multicultural and cross-functional teams, managed complex programs, advised senior government leaders, developed emerging leaders, and led through genuine crisis, right, including operation following the devastating 7.8 magnitude Ecuador earthquake. Those experiences help shape a leadership philosophy that I believe will resonate with everyone listening today. Lead yourself, lead others, and lead the mission. Jen now brings those lessons to leaders and organizations through Journey of Grace coaching, helping people move from reactive autopilot leadership to intentional leadership. There's a big distinction, right? She's also an associate certified coach through the International Coaching Federation, a certified professional co-active coach, a max leadership disc consultant, a purpose factor certified coach, and a positive intelligence coach. Wow. Jen earned a Master of Science in National Security Strategy from the National War College at National Defense University. And today she continues serving others, including volunteering as a coach with the Honors Foundation, helping members of the Special Operation community transition into their next chapter. She's also the co-host of Ripple Effect Leadership podcast with retired U.S. Ambassador Hugo Rodriguez Jr., exploring how intentional leadership creates ripples that extend far beyond ourselves. So part of what you're going to be learning today is really why self-leadership must precede leading others and how greater self-awareness change the way we respond under pressure. We're also going to be exploring Jen's deeply personal book, Coming Home to Me, a devotional journey and its companion journal, and discover how stillness, reflection, faith, grace, and intentionality can help you, all of us, become better human beings and better leaders. So, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast, the one and only Coach Jen.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you. And first, may I just say, what a special moment of gratitude with your youngest baby going off to college.
Yes.
I know my son just returned last week, and it's a bittersweet moment. You're so excited for them.
Yes.
And then there's the parent side.
Yes, maybe I'm a little bit selfish because our first daughter, she went to Los Angeles, not too far from San Francisco. It's only 5 hour drive or 1 hour flight. But the youngest one is staying in the Bay Area. She's going to San Francisco, so it's only a 30-minute drive. So I expect her to be home every weekend. I hope, but we'll see.
We'll see, right?
Yeah, I think it was really tough for me to let my first child just let her go. Cut that umbilical cord. It was very, very difficult. But eventually my wife helped me get through it. So it's gonna be a little bit easier now, I think, with our second one. I sometimes joke with my wife, like our first child is, because babies don't come with manual, right? It's like, okay, we have to learn everything. So we made so many mistakes with her, but we learned a lot, and the second one has a much easier life, I think, but we'll see.
Well, I have the one, and let me tell you, I still learn every time we're together. So part of our learning curve this summer in particular has been about communication and stress in this new age, right, of our relationship. Yeah.
I think no, both of them are Gen Zs. I don't know. I feel like they're facing a lot more challenges than we Gen X ever did. But also, in my opinion, the best way to learn to be a leader is to become a parent, because they're gonna stretch you, they're gonna test you, and overall, I think it is worthwhile. It is very exciting to have them. But I guess I like to start with gratitude. Is there anything else you are grateful for today, Jen?
Oh, there's always so much. And let me just say that I am grateful first for my morning devotional time, because that is what helps to set my mind at ease and plan out my day. And I think I was sharing with you, had a little mishap on the road today. My car engine
Yeah.
light came on and, it could have derailed the whole day, but I'm so grateful for the gentleman who helped me with the tow truck, for my
Mhm.
car dealership place, and just so many good people who show up when we have challenges.
So true. And I was sorry to hear about that. But the thing is, the second picture you sent me after that happened, you were completely happy and talking about leadership, and it's like maybe that's going to be the next question I ask you. Where do you think your sense of purpose and joy comes from, even when you face things that most people would say it's a pretty bad day? It's not a pleasant experience.
It's an intentional choice. And let me just be clear, right? Like, I don't jump into joy and fun in the midst of something challenging per se. But the work I have been doing over the last several years and a deepening of my own faith has helped me to access that joy
Wow.
and intentional choice so much faster and not stay stuck. And I don't believe perfect exists by any
Mhm.
stretch. And I used to think that's the goal, but it's really not. I think it is finding those moments of, wow, how can I show up here when
Yeah.
it's hard?
Wow. That is really powerful. There is someone now who just added a comment on LinkedIn. Oh, it's Coach Kimberly Conrad. I don't know if you know her. I have interviewed her. She's Maxwell certified as well. Yeah, she said, "I'm grateful for God's goodness to us."
So grateful.
Thank you so
So
much, Kimberly. Great to hear from you. So, some people will be interacting online, and I really love doing this interaction because when I did my first show 5 years ago from season one, episode one, nobody heard that show. It was just me, myself, and I. Maybe my wife had mercy on me. She had pity for me, and she listened the first 15 minutes. But otherwise, it was just me. So, it's really wonderful to have interaction with people across America and now all around the world. But if I was to ask you, Jen, is there something about you that most people may not know when they first meet you? Maybe a superpower, a quiet strength, or just something about you that's kind of unique?
I would say the superpower is learning to actually love myself and find grace
Hmm.
for myself. And that did not come easy, I would say. And yet that journey has given me access to so much more for other people.
Yes. Wow. That is so powerful. Yeah. And for those who are believers, why Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. And I feel like so many of us, we don't really love ourselves.
Well, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and it's still a daily work in progress.
Hmm.
And that notion of let me do for others before I take care of myself,
Yes.
in some ways, right? If we're not careful, it can start to be an inauthentic experience
Hmm.
and it can lead to resentment. And I was finding myself on that path.
Yes.
And actually my co-host on my podcast, Ripple Effect, Ambassador Hugo Rodriguez, he used to coach me years ago, and he would always remind me, we have to put our own oxygen mask on first.
Hmm.
It's so true that if we don't fill our own tanks, we don't have anything to pour out.
Yes.
And so that has just really become part of my own work and reminder. And I can push myself really hard, but I also know where that breaking point is.
That's so powerful. That's why every time we fly, right, they always says, "Hey, you put your own oxygen mask first before you start helping everybody else." It is so powerful. But how do you feel? And in my own experience, it's mostly with I see that more with women. My mom, my sister, my wife. Where it's not that they feel guilty, but it seems like they I don't know. I guess they are just so nurturing and just great people, but they really tend to put other people's need way above themselves. What would you say to somebody who's listening to the show right now that it is okay for you to take time off and to just take
Oh,
care of self?
more than okay. It's a
Uh,
requirement.
yes.
It is a requirement. And I think learning to know yourself, to really know where your full line is,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not exceeding that, and then learning to know what will fill you back up.
Wow.
So for me, right, it's that morning devotional time,
Mhm.
it's being in nature. I live close to the beach, so I get to do sunrise or sunset
Wow,
walks.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing, but I know that about myself. I love music, so being able to go hear music is another
Yes.
thing. So those things might seem frivolous sometimes when we're super busy, but yeah, when we step away and we come back, we actually
Mm.
have so much more energy and focus,
Wow,
right?
I
It's
love that.
that drift to drive. So
Yes.
we're in drive mode when we take that time away and we can
Mm.
actually do things better and in less time.
I love it. So after 23 years as a US diplomat, leadership coach, author, now a podcaster, when someone asks, who is Jen Brown? Who are you beyond your titles and your accomplishment and accolades?
Well, first, I'm a faith believer. Faith is really that's my foundation, and I
Mhm.
wouldn't say that it's been this smooth journey. Nope. I mean, I'm a real person here, and I've
Yes.
struggled in my own faith, of course. And then from there, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, a sister. I have an awesome family. And I'm so grateful for my upbringing because it
Mhm.
wasn't, I wouldn't say perfect, right? There were lots of struggles, especially in my younger years. But I have an amazing family in that we're all still really close. And I saw a hard work ethic in my dad in particular. And
Mm.
I think that shaped a lot of how I've approached life.
Yes.
And just, that perseverance and that if you're going to do it right
Mm.
sort of mentality.
Yeah, that is so powerful because my understanding is you grew up in a family construction business, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how else did your parent impact you growing up?
Well, I saw my dad. So it's a family. My dad has a family run paving and excavating business.
Wow.
He took it over from his dad. And honestly, and now a couple of my brothers are taking it over from my dad. So seeing that
That's
passed down
that's
and seeing
exciting.
my dad, right?
Mhm.
It's taught me so much about, first of all, your identity in business.
Yes.
And it becomes another child. And so you're so protective of
Wow,
your business and raising it. And
that's amazing.
then the commitment of hours when you're working on the business, in the business,
Mhm.
and the long hours, right? The sweat that goes in at night,
Yes.
on the weekends. And as I go through that now in my own transition from government to my own company,
Mhm.
I see I have so much more respect for what my dad did when he took over the business then.
Yes.
And I see my brothers starting to branch out with their own ideas. And it's an
Ah,
interesting dynamic. And it's
that's
awesome
really
because I
amazing.
also get to help clients in
Mhm.
this exact space. And I'm like, oh, yeah, my
Wow,
family's doing that.
that's really amazing. I know many people are worried about AI taking over every single industry out there. I can tell you, AI
No,
cannot do construction. That's for sure.
no.
But
Although I've heard some amazing things in that there are AI powered construction equipment. There's
Mhm.
AI powered construction equipment out there doing certain things. I have some mixed feelings about that. We'll see,
Yeah.
right? But certainly anyone who's in the construction industry, when you're outside and the heat index is 110 or more,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah.
You, some AI help
Okay.
might not be a bad thing there, but you still need that human element.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially when it comes to leadership. In my opinion, I don't know why this came to me. Maybe it was a revelation, but I was about 17 years old. I just came to the US and I was starting college and I was like, I need to learn three things in this. I guess it was in 1996. So the new millennium was around the corner. I'm like, in this next millennium, we're gonna. I thought it would be the age of information technology, but it's really the age of AI now. To
Yeah.
be very specific, but anyway, I was like, we're gonna need to have three separate skills that I'm gonna need to master. One is technology. I saw how it was taking over pretty much everything in the 90s, and then leadership. I felt like leadership was really key, and then business. I think if I have business skills, leadership, and technology skills, I will always have a job. I will find a way to make it, but it is just amazing with the advancement of technology today. One thing AI cannot do is definitely lead. So uh, those are skills we definitely need. So from your story, you grew up in a a family construction business to now representing the United States around the world. Wow, what a great honor and privilege that is.
Yes.
Where did your earliest understanding of leadership come from?
It actually came from my career with the State Department. I didn't so let me fill in the gaps.
Mhm.
Between my childhood, I ended up in Atlanta and I did my undergrad at Georgia State, and I majored in Spanish international business. So I was all
Mm,
about the business. I wanted to be in Latin America. That was true, and that came true with the State
wow.
Department. And I I say I stumbled into the diplomatic career because Colin Powell
Hmm.
was Secretary of State with the Department of State when I joined in 2002, and he really brought leadership to a new level, I
Hmm.
think, with the State Department, and really focused on hiring, right, getting the right numbers in of
Hmm.
people in the right positions and bringing training in a different way.
Yes.
And so for me, like, he was really that first leader I saw who embodied leadership.
Mm.
And that boiled down, if I have one word that I think is a key value for me, it's connection.
Yes.
And on all levels. And he connected with people. He would see, people cleaning the hallways
Yeah.
and say hello to them, right?
Yes.
And that to me is leadership.
Yes. Yeah. I think he also told me his story. I think in the State Department building, the HQ, it's usually, I think they were black, but I think from immigrant, I think from Haiti or so somewhere. But anyway, most people would just ignore them. But he was the Secretary of State would go down there and talk to each one of them and shake their hand, and
Yes.
it was like, wow, that shows you just so much about humility and connection, about just leadership, just period. It's like, wow, that's just amazing. But then something he kind of found out too was when those people didn't like you, and you this big huge guy from the State Department, you want to park your car in your Avos, immigrant trying to help out, they would the way they would allow you to park would also allow you to get out early or not, meaning your car could get stuck. But anyway, when people weren't very very nice to them without telling them, of course, they would make them park in places where it would be very difficult for them to get out of. But anyway, it's definitely the lesson for me is you have to treat everybody with respect and dignity, no matter who they are, and that's such a powerful lesson.
Well, it really is. And, as John Maxwell always
Mhm.
refers to those three key questions, and
Yes.
I love to bring those up with connection
Mhm.
because people do want to know, do you value me?
Yes.
And because we're human, what can you do for me? Right? Let's be
Yeah.
real.
Hmm.
And then third, can I trust you?
Yes.
And so when we are talking about building a culture of trust within an organization of any kind, a family, right? Those questions are still there. And
Mhm.
so how are we showing up? And when you were talking about leadership being one of the three things you were focused on,
Mhm.
as I was doing my undergrad, I thought it was management, right? And so
Mhm.
my style, I thought, was manage by walking around.
Yes.
And then
And
when I
blanket. Yeah.
right, but when I really started to learn leadership, I thought, "No, that's what I'm doing. It's connecting by
Mm.
walking around.
Yes.
It's building out those 3 questions in a way." And I didn't have the language back then,
Mhm.
right? I didn't
Yes.
know that John Maxwell was out there saying
Yes.
these 3 questions, but it became in my leadership style, how am I connecting with my team to show
Mm.
those 3 questions?
That's so powerful. I value you. How can I help you? And I will earn your trust. Wow.
Mhm.
So powerful. Now, you have said that live and lead out loud to be the ripple. I think that is so critical. It looks like it's essential to pretty much everything you have been doing, from the department to all of the coaching you do now. What does that mean to you to live and lead out loud to be the ripple?
It is, I think, being authentic and showing up as your full self
Mm,
as we're living and leading in life. I wouldn't say that I've always had that. I grew up a little bit more shy, and even in my State Department journey, confidence it was something I lacked for, I think, a long time. I've been working on that, and I think as I have found more of me, then my focus has been, how do I put myself out there to be real? I'm not saying it's
wow.
perfect, right? But if I'm going to say something, maybe I struggle in living it out loud,
Mhm.
but I'm going to keep showing up and trying to live it out loud.
Wonderful. Wow, that is amazing. Quite insightful. Because when you look back at the young women who entered the Foreign Service under Secretary Colin Powell, how different is that young woman to the leader sitting with me today?
Oh my gosh, very different. Very different. I used to be the type of person where if I said hello to you, I would turn beet red. I was
Wow.
really shy, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome going on when I entered the State Department. Here I am surrounded by people who are brilliant. They've gone to great schools. Georgia State's a great school. Don't get me wrong, but I was working full time and going to school at night.
Mm,
And I'm like, how am I qualified to be here?
wow.
Right. And somehow I used to joke, self deprecating humor can be a great thing. I still sometimes say this, but I used to say, yeah, I slid right on in, right? Like I barely made their cutoff line, and I
Wow.
slid in there. And the fact is, that was the only way that I knew how to kind of justify
Yes.
that I was there, that I
Wow.
was with the State Department. And now when I look at, through years of experience, learning, my own coaches
Mhm.
challenging me, and I look at some of the outreach I do with companies now, and people where I'm engaging, I'm like, wow, look at me, go girl,
That's amazing. Wow. So throughout all of that time, what do you think is one of the greatest leadership lesson that you've learned?
I think one of the greatest lessons is, even the highest of leaders are still people. They
Yes.
still get up in the morning, they still brush their teeth, hopefully,
Yes.
and they're
Yeah.
putting on their clothes, right? And they're people. And I think that I had them up on some pedestal.
Mhm.
And that's, yeah, I think when I started retraining my mind in that way of saying, no, right, they're people. And as long as I'm showing up authentically, they
Mm.
have a choice in how they can receive me. That's their choice. But I
Yes.
have the choice in how I'm presenting myself.
Wow. I must say, so I know you speak English and Spanish. Any other languages that you speak or
Woo.
understand?
I learned Russian 20 plus years ago. I
Wow.
probably couldn't say a
Amazing.
whole lot right now, but
Wow.
yeah, I just met a lady actually from Russia the other night, and we were talking, and I said, "Wow, I can barely say hello and how are you in in
That's
Russian at
pretty
this point."
amazing. I mean, it's especially in the US, right? We hardly speak only one language. And if you're in California, where I am, if you speak another language, it's gotta be Spanish. But that is quite amazing because, like I said in the intro, you served in Ecuador, Honduras, Venezuela, Turkmenistan. Now, I know most Americans are very challenged with geography. Turkmenistan, is that close to Turkey?
Not far, but it's right above Iran and Afghanistan.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And in fact, when I served there, that's when, well, we were still in Afghanistan. So I was there
Mhm.
2005 to 7.
Yes.
And we had the gas and go operations that would, fly over so that
Yeah.
military could go in. So yeah, it was an
Wow.
interesting time when I lived there. The president, quote, president of the country, died during that time, and so we
Oh, no.
saw a whole transition, and it was
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I know Iran and Turkey, they do share a border. So that means Turkmenistan is between Iran then and Kazakhstan. Was it Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, right?
Uzbekistan. Yeah, it's directly between Uzbekistan and Iran and Afghanistan. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Wow, what a career you've had, and also Colombia, and of course Washington D.C. What
Yeah.
what did leading across cultures teach you that you could never have learned in a classroom?
It's really about connecting with people because without the relationships, it's so much harder to find that negotiating room,
Mm-hmm.
to bring people on board, to have real conversations. I used to be in meetings where people they would say yes, they'd nod their heads, but they inside were going no, right? And so really having that relationship where you can have those private conversations before you start to go
Mm,
into meetings where you start to
yes.
understand what's important to the person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that in a classroom.
Wow, so true. So really, the culture is very important as well.
Very important.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about it, right, like we all have something that is meaningful to us, but if we're put on the spot, of course we're going to save face and not
Yes.
go into that. But, really understanding from a cultural aspect, like what are those fine points for them? Where are there, to use a military term here, red lines
Yes.
that they just can't cross, and what are our red lines that we can't
Mm,
cross?
yeah.
And I think the same is true really it doesn't matter what business you're in. It's
True.
it's knowing what are your company objectives, and where's your team showing up. So
Yes.
it's a different variation, but it exists
Mm.
in everything we do.
So powerful. As you know, our primary mentor, Dr. Maxwell, always says that leadership is influence, nothing less and nothing more. Now, being a diplomat, I have to guess you often have to influence people you don't command, right?
Oh yeah.
What did diplomacy really teach you about influence without authority?
Again, it's really that relationship building. So before going into something where I would put people on the spot, it's picking up the phone or having an in-person meeting and having that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, even if the person couldn't get to a yes, well, what can you get to? Okay, that's great to know. Here's where we are, and how do we try to work this? But working across the government in DC, lots of calls where I'm not somebody's supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we have overall the same mission, but then we have submissions, sub objectives that maybe don't quite match up. So it's finding where we can come to
Mm-hmm.
alignment in that space. But, really, if we think that, and I know, right? I've been in those roles where as leadership, sometimes you need that authority, sort of
Mm-hmm.
like I'm in a crisis and let's go, let's do.
Yes.
And knowing when that's appropriate and knowing when you need to really build that relationship
Wow.
to lead from a higher level leadership position.
That's really wisdom. Because I did mention the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Ecuador. You helped lead operation following that. Can you take us back to that moment? What happened to leadership when the crisis is real, right? People are definitely in danger, but information is incomplete like it always is. People are afraid and the decision cannot wait. All of the chaos. What
Yeah.
what happened there?
Well, that's a night I won't forget. I was having dinner at my deputy chief's house, and our kids were in another room, and we're sitting outside, and all of a sudden the water in the pool just starts jumping.
Wow.
And we're like, whoa, and we feel the ground and we hear some china rattle, and we're like, whoa, wait.
Mm,
So we grab the kids and we get to a door frame, and we huddled, and then it stopped, and it passed, and we were like, whoa, this is pretty serious, right? And
wow.
so that first step is really, okay, when you train for crises, right?
Yes.
That accountability piece. Let's get accountability of our people,
Hmm.
um, and let's start that that crisis communication plan of who are we notifying. And I was so lucky. I worked with great leadership. I was in Guayaquil at our consulate there, and we had great leadership in Guayaquil, in Quito at the embassy, and certainly our people back in DC, and really seeing the mission come together as a whole to work with the government of Ecuador, based on whatever the government of Ecuador said they needed, right? Because they're the host country. We're not here to impose our will. And my job in particular was, I was responsible for consular services. So US citizens in that area. And I worked with my counterpart in Quito. And I remember that night, as soon as everything was mostly stable, I drove into the consulate and I thought, I need to alert and get all these chains of communication going. And I wasn't quite sure what damage there might have been in Guayaquil itself. And so I was in contact with our American Citizen Services chief, and I said, look, I'm driving in, I'm going to start this process. And so I did, and kind of got that, and had a great team. Oh, they were so capable. And what I remember is I jumped into action in that sense. And it really became so key that as we started getting into the normalization of what would follow in those next days, that I got out of the way and let this amazing team go do their work. And they did amazing work. They went out to the impacted area, and they were connecting with local officials and searching for people. And we had some injured citizens and trying to work that. And we were lucky in the sense, no US citizen fatalities from that. But, I look at the earthquakes in Colombia and Venezuela and Japan, multiple earthquakes. And I think one thing that really stands out is back in the US, we don't think so much about what happens. And the fact we have US citizens who live overseas, who travel overseas, and our diplomatic people, our military colleagues, government colleagues are there to work with local communities who are so impacted. And infrastructure standards are not necessarily the same. So that impact is so much more than it might be in other places.
Wow. That's really incredible. And it's really something when you're training and what you plan for, because it's one thing, it's kind of theoretical. You cannot imagine it in your mind, but being right there in the midst of this, and then having to apply what you have trained for, and saving lives. I mean, that's really something. Huh?
It's amazing. And I have to say, I have goosebumps when I think about that team in Guayaquil, because when I first arrived in Guayaquil, and part of my leadership learning journey happened there, in that we had some big challenges when I arrived, and I was, as the leader, trying to have the answers and trying to protect the team from some of the stress. But they, of course, know when you're stressed as a leader, right? They pick up on that. And so I did a lot of work on myself, had a leadership coach, and what I started to see is, as I did my work, John Maxwell's law of the lid, as I did my work and grew, the team grew, right? And it was so powerful because I stopped being that bottleneck.
Yes.
They got to brainstorm on how do we address some of these operational challenges. They took it and they ran with it and did far better than I could have.
Yes.
So fast forward that work into the earthquake. And if that journey hadn't happened, our response probably would have looked a lot different.
Yes.
And I knew to get out of the way, because this team was trained. And so the team handling US Citizen Services, they handled it beautifully. The team handling visa operations, we thought we're going to need to divert more people to the US Citizen Services side. But no, the team came up with a plan, and they said, no, we can stay operational. Here's how we can do this.
That's amazing. So they surprised you. Wow.
They did. They were amazing. I'm like, this is like the best possible outcome in a very difficult time.
That is so powerful. That's why earlier we talked about management and leadership. I'm sure everybody listening have had this experience at least once. When you have a pretty bad manager. They want to control you, tell you exactly what to do, how to do it, now breathe behind your neck and all that. But when you're a leader, you just train people, you give them what they need, you remove any obstacle, and then you let them just shine and show their genius. There's just nothing like it. But in those high pressure environment, Venjan, how do leaders project calm without pretending everything is okay?
So I show my emotions pretty quickly, and that is something I'm very aware of. And I try to be pretty honest with my teams about that,
Mhm.
right? So it's something that I continue to work on in that calm state.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not saying that it's a perfect journey, but I think what a leader's job really is to communicate with their team. Who are they? And
Yes.
get their team's feedback, and then invite their team to help hold them accountable. And
Mhm.
so I think in my journey, I've had teams give me feedback as well. And okay, if you walk fast, does that mean you're stressed? Well, no, I'm a fast walker,
Yes.
but the appearance of walking
Mhm.
fast might convey being stressed. So it's really having open conversation,
I like that.
creating a space for safe feedback,
Yes.
um, and and then I think when you have that and you have that trust in your team, well, I knew this isn't all on me, right?
Mhm.
I'm not
Mm.
carrying this huge responsibility alone. And that stood out to me during that earthquake too, because I remember being told leadership's lonely at the top.
Yes.
And honestly, it doesn't have to be so lonely.
True.
Certain people, yes. I mean, the circles do change as you're in higher leadership positions. I get all of that. But the
Mhm.
key is having that right circle around you so that it's
Mm.
not so lonely.
So powerful. Yeah, another one of my mentor told me, as you move up, make sure that there is at least somebody else behind you, right? You don't want to get to the top all by yourself.
That's
It's
right.
wow. But what did your diplomatic career kind of teach you about the relationship between trust and mission accomplishment?
Trust is first. Trust
Yes.
is first. And that, as I stepped away from government and I was really reflecting on my own journey and then the work I'm doing now with the private sector, it really became one, we have to lead ourselves. We have to know ourselves. And then it is how are we leading others? It's that connection piece of how am I building trust? Because
Mm.
without that trust, we really can't communicate and give honest feedback, have a real hard conversation. And we're people,
Yes.
we're messy. Conversations are not clean when we're operating in stressful environments, right?
Mm.
And so that trust is really key to having those hard conversations. It to me, it goes to John's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect.
Yes.
We can talk, but we're talking past each other if we don't have trust and an understanding of each other.
Mm.
And then when we look at, okay, well, in the private sector, the bottom line, right? In the government, what's the mission? What's the objective that we're after?
Yes.
But we can't get to that if we're not focused on the people part
Hmm.
first. And, I do not like the word delegate in the sense of here's a project, go do it, right?
Yes.
Like, and so often we get these taskers, or we have a short deadline, go do
Mhm.
this. But I think that misses, and I thought about this a lot because I've played with the word empower. Let me empower my team to go do this.
Yes.
Well, that still feels a little short-sighted, and at least to me. And so that's where I started thinking, no, this is really about transferring ownership. And
Mhm.
you can't do that if you don't have connection based on trust,
Yes.
if you don't have clarity in your
Mm.
communication, expectations, and
Yes.
if you don't have accountability, because at the end of the day, we have
Wow.
something that we need to be responsible for.
I really love that because I think as a new leader, that's one thing I really had to learn how to delegate. because for most of us, the reason why they put you in position of leadership is because you are so good as an individual contributor at doing
Yes.
what you do, right? And then all of a sudden you are in charge of people, and you have to let them do it. I'm like, I do it better than you, so I can do it with my eyes closed, right? In two
Yes.
seconds, I'm done. Well, they have to try and try again, and they make mistake. And I mean, but really, when you think about it, that's how you learn to. Somebody gave you the opportunity to fail, so you could learn and become really good at this. So I usually say that crisis, they really do not start new habits, right? New leadership habit, but actually reveal who you are. Going through
Yes.
all of the crisis you went through, the State Department specifically, what did you learn about yourself as a leader? What did that reveal to yourself?
From a personal side, how good it felt to see my team just rise
Yes.
and take
Like
it.
it. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I
beautiful.
was I was the facilitator, right? They did it.
Wow, that's
And that was just so really so powerful, to be honest.
wow.
Um,
That is
and yeah, and I think, from another side, and I had learned this from before, but preparation is really key.
mm-hmm.
And you train, we did a lot of training as you did in the military, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you can only train so far, and then you're in the real thing, and
Mhm.
variables come up. But when you train, you have more
Of course.
confidence in knowing what you have access to in your own thinking and in
Yes.
resources. Uh, yeah. So I
Wow,
think,
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's Oprah who taught me that success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Because if
yes,
you wait until the opportunity shows up, it's going to be way, way too late. And no,
yeah,
I have so much to talk to you. I think I could be talking to you for hours and hours, but we don't have that today. So I do need to talk about your book and its companion. So
mhm.
let's talk about coming home to me. I think this is a very personal, devotional journey. And in addition to the book, you also have the companion journal. Why did this book have to be written, Jen? Why did you write it? Why was it needed?
It was not a part of my business plan last year at all. And I was on the business development calls with Chris Robinson. Like, I was pretty clear, get out of the house, get out the house, go do. And I was doing. And the Saturday of Labor Day weekend last year, I woke up, and faith is just really important to me. And I really felt the spirit right here say, this is what you're going to do. You're going to write this
Ah,
book, and laid it all out. The title, that picture is from
mhm.
my kayaking trip on my birthday last year.
Wow,
And just gave me the whole vision, the whole
amazing.
dump. And I was like, no, no, not
Wow.
part of the business plan. I like to wrestle with God. I'll
Yeah.
say that, uh, which I kind of just imagine that he laughs and says, "That's cute,
Wow. Did you
nice
feel like
try."
you had to stretch yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so I took it on by midday that day. I started writing down what I had, the
Wow.
message I had received from it, and I didn't know who the audience really was.
Mhm.
But what I can tell you now is it was meant for me. As I do
Wow.
my own work every day, I open it and I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's where I am, and that's exactly the message I needed." And
That's
things that I
amazing.
wrote before I knew that have happened this year,
Mhm.
it's really bizarre, but here's who I think that it's for. I had lost part of my own voice being in the government. No fault
Mm.
against the government, right? Just as when you're part of the government, you're serving a higher mission, and you do have to, monitor what you say, and all of that. And I'm not saying they told me
Mhm.
not to have faith or anything, but I feel like two things happened. The day I retired, I joined the John Maxwell team. That had been on my vision board for several years, and the timing just aligned.
Perfect. Yes.
And I knew that I was called. My word of the year last year was adventure, meaning to be
Mm.
bold in my faith. And I didn't know how that was going to show up,
Yes.
and then it did. And so,
Man, that's
yeah.
amazing. I really love the way you set up your devotion, because for each month you start with a thought. For example, for January, reflection before result, and then you have one for January 1 to 2nd, all the way through. And then for February, for example, you start with loving yourself as God loves you, which is quite powerful. And then you go through the devotion for February 1, 2, 3, and so forth. I guess the question I have for you then, was there maybe a chapter that was most challenging for you to write, or maybe one that kind of surprised you, or you ended up learning something completely unexpected as you finish writing it?
Yeah, I think, well, a couple themes have shown up in a couple places. July itself was on freedom, the
Hmm.
freedom of letting go of
Yeah.
certain things. And that was a pretty interesting month for me as I've worked through some things. The passages that have shown up on grace have,
Hmm.
grace to me is a key value. It's grace for yourself and grace for others.
Yes.
And so that work has been really powerful. But I think, freedom in forgiving, um, especially even when reconciliation and with other relationships isn't really an
Hmm.
option.
Wow.
And from a leadership perspective, think of the weight that we carry when we don't access freedom.
That is really deep, very insightful. Because even the title itself, right? You are talking about coming home to me. I guess one might ask the question, uh, coming home to me, what were you coming home from, and what
Right.
were you coming home to?
Yeah. I think for me, I never really questioned what I was coming home from. It was coming home to God and to myself, like
Hmm.
getting real with me again.
Yes.
And I think then the from is a previous chapter of life, right? It's that
Hmm.
transition. I was in that professional transition. I was in personal transition. And as you grow, it is true. Your circle of people
Yes.
changes. And I think, which is not always bad, especially as we learn to have healthy boundaries and we know
Mhm.
what we're standing for and where we're going. But
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard.
Wow. But really, based on everything you are saying, it seems to me like when it comes to leadership, it really starts with self awareness, doesn't it?
Completely.
Wow.
Completely. And I think we can lead others without being fully aware, but we're
Mm.
capped.
Yes. Yes. The law of the lead.
So
Yeah, because you spent decades in a career where achievement, responsibility, service, and mission matter enormously, just like in the
yeah,
military. But can we become so identified with what we do that we kind of lose touch with who we actually are?
that was
Yeah.
the place where I found myself. It was that my identity, and I knew I'd be retiring from the State Department for several years. So there
Mhm.
was nothing political about that move for me.
Yeah.
It was really, I knew that would happen just based on my personal situation with my son in school.
Hmm.
And so even with that preparation, I wasn't prepared for the full impact of the identity shift of,
Yes.
wow, I am no longer a diplomat. I'm no longer with the Department of State. I'm,
Mm.
who am I?
Yeah.
And what do I stand for? Um, yeah, I
That's
mean,
really powerful.
this book, I mean, that devotional, I think, again, was really for me as I'm doing my own work. And the thing with all of us as coaches, we're normally doing our own work as we are coaching other people, right?
Hmm.
And we end up coaching people normally,
Yeah.
often based on our own journeys.
So true, because we are human being, right? Not human doings. And
Yes.
sometimes we kind of get confused. But besides yourself, who was your avatar? Who was the person you had in mind when you were writing your book? Who were you talking to?
Uh, so my grandparents have played a big piece of a big role in my life, and so my grandparents certainly um, came into it, and I
Wow.
can just kind of hear, yeah, like, and I don't know why I'm about to say this, but when I was growing up, my family would sometimes call me Jenny, and so I would
Mhm.
hear that Jenny, like, keep going,
Wow.
uh,
That's really
and
something.
Yeah, it was great to tap into that, and I have
I
to
love that.
say, I hunkered down, like, I spent about 3+ months, 3 to 4 months writing this book, right? Being a
Wow,
very condensed time period to get it released in December, and I never
amazing.
felt so comforted in my life.
Wow.
There was such a peace of it was stressful, but there was
Yes.
peace.
I would love that because when we talk about wisdom, I think there is something generational about it. It is universal and it is self-sustaining, and it doesn't matter, right? If it was your parents, your grandparents, your grandparents, those principles apply no matter who you are, no matter which century or even which country or what language you speak, and that is so powerful because you do emphasize stillness in your devotion. Yet many of
Mhm.
us, especially high performing leaders, know almost equate stillness with being unproductive. While I am not doing
Yes.
something. So what can
Oh
leaders really hear in stillness that we miss while constantly moving and just doing stuff?
Oh, what an awesome question, and certainly one I have wrestled with too. And so I think stillness looks differently for every person. I can be still in my morning devotional time,
Yes.
and I can be still while I'm out walking on the beach or walking in
Mhm.
nature. And the reason I say that is because that's where my mind gets to be still. I don't
Yes.
need my body to be still for my mind to quiet. And I think
Wow.
that each person has to find what works for them. But without that stillness happening, we lose access to our higher thinking.
Wow. That's really powerful. But definitely, we can see your faith expressed throughout the book. How has your faith influenced your understanding of leadership? Especially when things are uncertain and people are in transition.
Oh, trust. It's that trust word again. And it's
Yes.
hard when there's uncertainty, when things don't make sense.
Hmm.
And it's the opportunity to deepen connection. And
Wow.
yeah, so oh, go ahead.
No, this is really powerful. In medicine, was there maybe an experience you are willing to share, either growing up or you really finding your faith, where you kind of develop that certainty that some way somehow things are going to work out?
It's an interesting question, and, bumps in the road
Hmm.
in early childhood experiences, even in my own journey, because I think when we don't often look at our own childhood experiences, patterns do repeat.
Yes.
And through some of the hardest times in my life, that's when faith showed up
Mm. Wow.
the strongest. And that's when I knew it will work out. I
Yes.
don't have to know how. I have to be committed to listening
Wow. That's
and
really
trusting.
powerful. Because not only I see faith, but I also see grace throughout your writing, both for the book and the companion journal. What does grace mean in coming home to me? And also, how is grace compatible with accountability and high standards?
Oh, I love that. Oh, great. So, first, I wrestled with grace in my faith, thinking, yes, I do believe Jesus died for me, right? And forgave me. And it was hard for me to accept that forgiveness, even though I knew it. And so that work has really, I had oh, wow. I had a pastor who walked with me during a really hard time, and
Mm.
she helped me to receive that grace. And I still
Wow.
have to intentionally remind myself of that grace,
Yes.
right? And not say, well, who am
Mm.
I to reject that? And so
Wow.
that, from a faith perspective, informed on a deeper level my own leadership of that
Yes.
grace. I'm going to mess up. I'm
Hmm.
not intentionally going to try.
Yes.
It's how I show up when I do mess up. And
Mm.
what example am I setting for my team, my family, my
Yes.
son, when they mess up? Because they will. We're humans.
Yes.
And
Wow.
so it's really working through that. Let me not be on default reactive mode, but let me do that step back and
Mhm.
intentionally say, how do I want to show up and what outcome do I want here? Because it's a learning moment for all of
Yeah.
us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we really
And,
should be applying that grace to ourselves, don't we? Love yourself, but
oh
also
yeah.
forgive yourself, right?
Oh, 100%. We need to, in order to really model that
Yeah.
and create the space for our teams to
Mm.
feel that and to give themselves grace, right? Because it's the
Yes.
multiplying effect. When
Yes.
our teams see us do that, then they can do that, and then they go home and they do that for their
Mhm.
families. That's the ripple. That's the capacity
So
building.
powerful. Because not only you wrote the book, but you also took the time to write the companion journal. Why didn't you stop with just the devotional? You created the Coming Home to Me, a devotional journey, companion journal as well. Why was the journal important?
And I think, and I'm not a journaler. This is the craziest thing. But I felt the nudge of you need a space to write. And so guess who
Mhm.
is now writing every morning? Me.
That's really
You
amazing.
know, yeah. So, if nothing else from this, it is a space to step back and just be with God and hear God and then reflect. And sometimes even what I write doesn't align exactly with the coaching prompts, and that's okay. There's no judgment.
Yes, yes. Wow, I really loved it. Oh my goodness, we've actually run out of time already. Can you give me five more minutes? Five,
Of
six
course.
more minutes? Okay, okay. Man, this is so good. I told you we could be talking for hours and hours. And as you've noticed, the question I sent you, we missed segment 2, segment 3, segment 4, segment 5. We skipped over to segment 6 because I had to talk about the book for sure. But my goodness, wow, so much to learn. But let's end the book segment with this. I think this might help someone. If let's try to bridge this back to leadership. So if somebody completes the Coming Home to Me and its companion journal, what do you hope is different about the way that person lives, the way they love, the way they serve, and the way they lead?
To be intentional with themselves. And that's where it starts. When we get to be intentional with ourselves, it impacts everything else around us.
Mm,
And so knowing where you are in your faith, where the struggles are, we all have them.
yes.
Life is hard and we go through things that makes us question, well, how? What more do I need to
Mm,
do, right? And it gets to that place of when we know where the struggles are, then we get to work intentionally and
yes.
deepening our faith and deepening our leadership and how we show up in the world. So
Mm,
I think for me that's your cornerstone of leadership. And then as we look at how are we leading other people,
wow.
are we
That's powerful.
extending that grace? And you asked about the accountability, and I do want to go back to that
Yes.
because in leadership, this isn't all grace and no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
That's not at all what I'm saying. We have objectives that need to be met. We
Yes.
have bottom lines that need to move us forward. And being clear, it goes back to that decision transfer. Do
Mm-hmm.
we have the connection? Do we have the clarity in that communication of expectations?
Yes.
What does success look like? Where's your authority limit?
Mm,
What can you do here?
wow.
And then let's set up accountability. Where are the milestone check-ins? Again, where are you escalating when you run into trouble? And we have to hold people to those accountability standards
Mm.
because we are responsible as leaders.
So powerful. And for people listening right now, if there was one and only one lesson they could get from your book and its journal, which lesson would it be?
Mm. Oh, wow, that's a super one. Um, I would say that the lesson, it's going to come back to the grace.
Yes.
It really is, for me, because grace, I think, is also what gives us humility
Mm-hmm.
in leadership, and
Does it give
then
you
we
empathy as
yeah,
well? Yeah.
I was just about to say that. You read my mind, and the empathy of, wow, what else is this person going through? I remember, leading a couple people throughout my career where, the accountability was a struggle, the performance was a struggle.
Yeah.
And when I was able to build a deeper relationship and understand other things they had going on in their life and different challenges, that changed the approach to how do we get you
Wow.
to meet accountability.
That
And
is
I'm not saying every story is a success story, right? Sometimes it's not, and that's a leader's job. Sometimes you have to make really hard calls,
yeah.
but making those hard calls after you have invested in a person and built that relationship.
Wow. That is really something. Now, one question I like to ask is, no, this is the Leadership and Success podcast, but the truth is, in my opinion, usually we don't really achieve a level of success until we actually go through failure.
Oh, yeah.
What has failure taught you, or how has failure impacted your life?
I'm always learning. So
Yes.
I learn from every failure. And what it has taught me is, wow, I had the confidence to do something.
Mm,
And when I miss something, wow, I had the courage to own it. And
wow.
that ownership, I know I had one example in my own journey where um, I was responsible for a team. So I'm going to say I missed something big that happened. And that was a key moment of I was new in the position. And I went into my boss and I said, this is completely on me. And it was big.
Wow.
And, that ownership piece,
Yeah.
but not just taking a problem, taking a proposed solution
Mm,
and saying, okay, here's how we can fix it. It's not perfect. Here's
yeah.
what we can do. And then, from the military term here, a good hot wash, a
Yes.
good after action review. What went wrong? What can we do to make this
Wow.
better? What are the lessons that we learned? And let's write the next playbook. Let's
So
improve our
powerful.
standard operating procedures so that we know
Yes.
what to do next time.
Man, that takes integrity. It takes courage.
It's
And
not fun, but
yeah.
on the other side of it, it is because
Yes.
you get to see growth.
But I would dare to say most people do not want to do that. They don't want to accept responsibility. They try to find somebody else to blame. Where do you think that comes from? That character, just that desire to just take accountability.
Well, I think it's when we're so focused on ourselves and what that may mean for us personally or professionally.
Yes.
But the fact is, we can't run and hide from the mistakes, and the
Mhm.
messes. And right, it just makes me think, right? God uses our messes for the message. So,
Yes.
what are we getting from that mistake?
Wow.
Um,
Powerful.
and yeah, yeah. And I think in those moments of failure in my life, personally and professionally, the question is, how can I be better from this?
Mm.
And how can I help someone else to learn?
That's really powerful. Okay, we have to leave it there. We've completely run out of time. But before we end, I want to try this uh, rapid fire leadership rounds. I'm going to ask you a question. Don't take too long to think. Whatever comes to your mind first. No, 10, 15, 30 seconds. I want to hear it. Okay. Let's see. Leadership is?
Influence,
Okay. The most important quality of a great leader.
grace,
Okay.
being
A
graceful.
leadership mistake that taught you the most.
The leadership mistake that taught me the most, failing big time in missing a deadline.
Mm. Who's a leader who created a ripple in your life?
I am going to give that one to Hugo Rodriguez.
That is
Yeah.
the ambassador who is
Yes, my
watching.
my podcast co-host. Yeah.
And I want everybody to sign up for the Ripple Effect Leadership. Great, great, great podcast available everywhere, including YouTube. Wow, powerful. Okay, what is something leaders need to stop doing?
Holding on to mistakes,
And what is one thing you would continue to do as a leader, no matter what? You would
grow,
grow, grow.
grow.
Powerful, powerful. Yeah, I think that's really the secret to success, isn't it? When you say you're going to be a student for life and keep growing and growing and growing. Like Papa John says, if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in
Oh,
the wrong room. Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. Okay. So, what is one book besides your own, of course, that shaped your leadership?
My first Maxwell book, which was Developing the Leader Within You
Within
before
you.
it was
Yes.
2.0.
Yes. I
Yes.
love that one too. Okay. Yeah. For me, my favorite Maxwell book is this one here, the 21 Irrevocable Laws of Leadership. I read it over and over and over again every single year. It's just
Yeah.
powerful. Okay. And let me see. Let's end with one piece of advice for the Jen Brown beginning a foreign service career. Just back back then.
Be confident and stand in your value.
Wow. Stand in your value. I love that. Okay. And as we end the show, actually, before I ask you the last question, what can we do to add value back to you?
Well, follow me on LinkedIn on the socials. That would be awesome. Would love to connect. And, of course, the book is there. I would say once you connect, it's really all about how are we building capacity in our
Mhm.
organizations, personally, in our teams, and in our organizations.
Yes, and of course, the book is available everywhere. Books are sold, and most people go to Amazon. So there is
Yes.
the book itself, Coming Home to Me, a devotional journey, but then it also has an accompanying journal, companion journal. Wow, that is so powerful. Okay, let me ask you the last question then. Before I do, is there a question I should have asked you? I didn't get a chance to ask. Anything else you wanted to share today?
No, I mean, I think you've covered it. It's been such a great conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking. I know I'm asking an hour from the people I interview, and that is a lot because no, believe me, 1 hour is a long time. But I'm thinking maybe I need to change this format to like 2 or 3 hours, and this way we can really get into the details of some of the things I want to talk about. But no, this is great. We've learned so much from you. So as we end the show, I'd like to ask you, Jen. You've served your country, you've led people around the world, coached leaders, written books, volunteered with transitioning service members, and now you are creating really ripples through your podcast. When all the titles are eventually gone, how do you hope people remember Jen Brown?
Mm. So this may come a little out of left field. I do this little video on Facebook and Instagram on Saturdays called Salty Saturday, and salty two edge, right?
Mhm.
Salt and light, and also I live by the beach, so salty air. Well, three, and I get to be a little salty. So I want people to remember the positive message that I try to put out,
Mm.
and it's not. I often don't have a pre-planned message. I'll go and just whatever I feel is coming over me is what
Mhm.
I speak out there. So I want people to be that ripple.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really powerful. So there is somebody listening right now who knows they are operating on autopilot. Maybe they are navigating a transition, or maybe they have spent so much time leading everyone else that they've lost themselves somewhere along the journey. What do you want to say directly to that person right now?
Mm. One, it's not your fault. Our brains have been so conditioned to be on autopilot, and sometimes that really serves us because
Yes.
our brains can't make all these decisions intentionally every day.
Mm.
And there's a way to break that brain pattern so that we can recenter ourselves, ground ourselves, and access that intentional decision making space. And I
Mm.
put it out there as this question: when's the last time that you handled a situation in a way that maybe you weren't so proud of, snapped at
Yeah.
somebody, or it happens. If somebody cuts us off in traffic, how do we respond?
Mm.
React, let me say that. And
Yes.
the key is by doing this work, repetition is everything, consistency is everything.
Mm.
When we do this work in a consistent way, we get to move quicker from autopilot to intentional. I'm so passionate about this because
Powerful.
that's where the best version of ourselves shows up. And
Yeah.
that's where that ripple gets to really have a positive impact, not a negative one.
Yeah, that's so powerful because it's not just something that you preach, but something you do. No? Like we said earlier, you're having issues with your car, and yeah, but still, though, you kept that positive attitude. I want to end with something Papa John says, Dr. John Maxwell says, most people have uphill hopes, but downhill habits. You have to be intentional because
Mhm.
everything worthwhile is uphill.
Yeah.
Intentional. So
Yes.
powerful. Wow. Okay. And then the very last question I am going to ask you then is, what is one thing each of us can do today to become that ripple?
Mm. I would say think about who you can add value to, who you can lift.
Mm,
Here's the challenge that I put out there long before the State Department.
yeah.
I went to Argentina before the State Department and after my State Department career. It really bookended my career. And it was Buenos Aires is such a huge city, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in cities, people look down. And I challenged myself to look people in the eye and smile.
Wow.
And anytime I could connect, I thought, I hope someone just felt seen. So there's the
Powerful.
challenge. Connect with
Wow.
people.
So simple, but yet so powerful.
It is. It is. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable
Yes.
looking you in the eye, right?
Wow.
But it's also amazing when you're in a large city atmosphere in particular, the
Mm-hmm.
number of people, it's like, wow, okay. And a
Wow.
smile happens. So it is simple.
Something. Because
Yeah,
even kind of like a small pebble, you just throw it on the lake or something, and then they start creating such a
that's
huge
it.
ripple. It's
That's it.
wow, powerful. Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay, very last question, and the show is done. One word that represent our time on this podcast today.
Deeply intentional. I'm going to say that.
I
I
love
think
it.
it's 2 words. It's 2 words.
So
Got
cool.
this went deep, and I love that because it's all about connection.
Well, I wish I could have asked you the question for the other free segment we had to skip, but this was really great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, to my audience. We've learned so much from your wisdom, and really, Coach Jen, we are so grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for all that you do and for having me.
Appreciate that. All right. All right, everybody, this is one for the book. And again, I want all of you to go ahead and pick up a copy of the book. It's on Amazon, it's everywhere. Coming Home to Me, a devotional journey. And also get the accompanying journal, Coming Home to Me, a devotional journey. All right, I think if there's really one thing I've got out of this conversation about leadership is you really have to be aware of yourself. You need to know you. You need to be aware of you, and then you need to try to really build those connections. And they have to be a real connection, right? It's not like, oh, I went to school or I took a course about leadership, and now I'm gonna try to connect with my people. And you have kind of like a checklist. No, forget about the checklist. You really get to value people, add value to people, and serve them. And I think as you build those connections, everything else is going to get better. Wow. All right, this is it for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to have another interview with Ms. Tam Lawrence. She's going to be here in the morning. She's the one, she says, she builds before the emergency. She doesn't wait for a crisis to validate a solution. She's also the founder of Exposure Plus TV, so founder, CEO of Pickstar Incorporated, and president of Exposure Plus TV, a creator, a human verdict, and she always building before the emergency. It's going to be a very fascinating interview tomorrow. All right. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching the show today. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.